Hi, I'm Rebecca Mara reporting with Hardlands Media, and I'm very excited to welcome Chicago mayoral candidate Jamal Green here today to talk a little bit more about his platform and how he thinks he can really improve Chicago. So
Yes.
you are the youngest mayoral candidate. You're 23 years old,
Yes.
but in my eyes, I see that as ambition, passion, and what we've seen so far from the older generations is basically really horrible decisions that have ruined our city. And I think for me, I'm more comfortable with someone that I know has actually lived through and experienced the societal trauma that was passed down to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to just have you explain your life experience and how you believe that has qualified you to make these citywide decisions.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Born and raised in Inglewood and Gresham. I saw so many, you talked about how we've had so many horrible decisions passed down by past politicians, which gave me a neighborhood where my reality was seeing people getting shot, right in front of me. When I was a young boy, I was hiding behind a bush, seeing a gunman shoot several people right in front of me. Looking out my window, I would see someone shooting at a car like it was Grand Theft Auto. My friend was homeless and didn't have nowhere to go, and I had to let him sleep in my basement against my grandmother's wishes, and she didn't even know. I saw so many problems in my neighborhood, and I said, this can't be the reality for my kids. And when I was growing up, I wasn't thinking about maybe I can actually really change things. I was thinking, if I live to see the age of 21, I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be the mindset of Chicagoans that are pushing to these neighborhoods with no economic development, no jobs. The unemployment rate is the highest in Chicago than it is around the country. The schools, if you are in low-income neighborhoods, don't have the resources because they're funded by real estate taxes, and it's not a lot of them. No mental health facilities or clinical staff members. This should not be the reality of a kid growing up. Every kid should be able to grow up in a neighborhood where they can grow and thrive. And I said, when I got older and I started getting into activism, and I started my first company when I was 15 with my history teacher, getting into youth programming for anti-bullying and anti-violence and inspiring young people that they can be more than their surroundings. Then I was the Put the Guns Down ambassador for the city of Chicago, and I was 18 years old. And after the Rahm McDonald video, I became an outspoken activist against the machine and against the establishment that is running this city. So I got to a point where I said, you know what? We can't have another election where we have regular politicians and regular people who have been a part of the bad decisions from the past. We need somebody new, somebody's refreshing, somebody that understands what's going on these street corners, somebody that understands young people all around this city, and somebody who's going to make the best decisions for the next generation. Not for now, not for you, not for your pockets, but for the next generation of kids, for my kids, for your kids. That's why I decided to enter this race.
Yes, that is very refreshing, and I definitely agree. We need innovative thinking. It's kind of amazing to look back and see how you've set up, just by being an activist and being involved and caring about your community, you've kind of just set up this pathway to be a leader and be successful. So can you tell us a little bit about Aubrey Gresham and the programs you've been trying to uplift there?
Well, you know what? Let me touch on your question because this hasn't been the path that I set up for myself.
Right.
This was a path that it was the path that I felt that I had to go in because of what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was the time. It was the situations that were happening.
Survival mode almost, right?
Yeah, and it was the Rahm McDonald video. It was so many things that kind of tailored where I am today.
Yeah.
This never was by design. My design was always to be giving back. A big businessman who was philanthropic and built schools and built community centers all around the world and helped out kids. But all the different situations that happened in Chicago over the last, over my lifetime tailored me to where I am today. So I started a nonprofit. It's called Majesty All Stars. Now was Scott Rocking Teens Corp when I was 15. And I moved it into a nonprofit that teaches young people on financial literacy and entrepreneurship. One of the biggest things outside of the horrible corruption and politics is that our education, is very, very, it does not teach the skills that people really need to grow when they get out of school. And so what I mean by that is there's a lot of people in minority communities throughout the city who don't even know what credit is or how credit works, right? So they go and buy their first car and then they get repoed and their credit is shot. They don't even know what they've just went through, right?
Yeah.
You got people who don't even have a bank account. They're constantly going to the currency exchange to cash their checks and let the currency exchange make all of this money. That's why they have currency exchange all throughout the exchanges all throughout the city. You have people who don't know how to save. You got a lot of people who, if they lose their job today, they won't have no means to survive. They'll probably go homeless because they don't know where their next dollar is because they weren't saving while they were working. You got people who don't know how to invest. They don't know what stocks is. They don't know what mutual funds is or IULs or 9 times out of 10, 98% of the time in our communities, people don't like to talk about death. So they don't even have life insurance. So this conversation has to be had. And I said, I need to make sure that the next generation understands these things. And that's why Mayoral All-Stars is dedicated to teaching young people how to build wealth. And so we have bring in experts from around the country from who are big in the financial world. We just had one of my friends, MJ Harris, who has the biggest black financial company in the country, who came and talked to our young people and did a workshop with them on finances and how to invest. And so we take them to Nike, to the headquarters. One of my friends runs Nike headquarters downtown, and she said bring them in, and they went in and see all the new job titles in Nikes and that they never heard of. What's marketing and community relations? I never knew that these are jobs or careers that we can look forward to, and just to expand their mindsets. And so now we're trying to build a community center for Mayoral All-Stars so they can have a permanent home, because we've been renting one. We've tried to build one on 79th and Ashland, raise $60,000, but we were railroaded by the mayor all the way throughout, and so we were not able to reach our $1.5 million goal to do it.
Yeah, that's not surprising considering the current mayor, thankfully former mayor, is outwardly against education.
He is.
He shut down 50 schools, 60 mental
more
health
than that. More schools than that. Yep.
At least on the the south and west sides. Yep. So it's really great to hear that you want to invest in education, and with the those schools being shut down and all the kids being there's 40, 50 kids to one classroom, they're never even going to get the basics of the education because they can't even absorb, and they're basically, the teachers can't handle it. Mm-hmm. They can't. Yeah, it's not manageable.
No, I talked with a teacher yesterday, and who was in a public school. How do you expect a kid to learn when they could come from a broken household, so they're dealing with problems in the house? Then when they come out, they're dodging bullets trying to get to school. They possibly have a mental health problem or dealing with CTSD. They call it PTSD. I call it continuous. It's CTSD. Yeah. I say it's continuous. It's not post. It's continuous. And they're dealing with all those different things. And they finally make it to school, not in a classroom with 40 kids who don't learn the same. And they're expected to take in all that information that they're forcing on them when they have so many things, other things to think about. Oh, and don't forget about the fact that they could be homeless, because we got 17,000 homeless CPS students.
Most of the homeless population are children.
Are children, and so now they're still thinking about the fact that they haven't even eaten in a week. Or they're trying to figure out how to get to school, how to get some food from school. So how do you go through all of those different things, to be shoved in a classroom with 40 other kids, and then we're expecting them to be scholars, expecting them to really digest that information? We're essentially failing them. The administration it's a failed system. We're essentially failing kids every day. And what we do is we just teach them how to bubble in the right answer.
Yeah.
And we teach them how to test, so that we can politicize their test scores.
I want you to touch on the wellness development program, because I think that's so important. We need to learn how to interact with each other and thrive in these traumatic situations that could maybe alleviate some of the trauma, right?
Yeah. So we're not dealing with mental health in the city,
Right.
I want to say at all. We have a budget for it. I don't know where that money is going, which is why I want an independent audit when I become the mayor. We have shut down every mental health facility in minority communities. We have cut funds for clinical staff members in schools. So you got schools like Tilden and other high schools throughout the city who don't have one clinical staff member licensed in that school to deal with these problems. So you got hundreds of kids who don't get that treatment. You have veterans committing suicide, 22 veterans a day committing suicide. You have the police, a large number of suicides in the police department. If you've seen over the last few months, you had about 4 police officers commit suicide, and that is an alarming rate. We are not dealing with this problem. Senior citizens are committing suicide in an alarming rate too, or depressed. Why are we not dealing with these problems? So we propose a plan to have wellness centers in the city of Chicago. So we reopen mental health clinics, but we will redesign them as wellness centers to go against the stigma of people think they're crazy when you talk about mental health. There'll be wellness centers, but it's not just psychiatry. It'll be yoga. It'll be boxing. It'll be karate. It'll be massage therapy. It'll be how to get people well all together in these centers. And then these centers, we work with the senior citizen facilities to work and dispatch people to those senior facilities to work with those seniors that are depressed. Then we propose a plan to double the pound budget, because our budget is similar to Philadelphia's, but we're twice their size. So when we get too much, when we don't have enough space, they kill off animals. They euthanize them. Instead of doing that, we want to train them to become service animals for veterans, for those who are disabled. You know, because veterans are committing suicide.
That is such an amazing idea.
We need to make this a no-kill city. Why are we constantly killing animals? No, we need to use these animals for different things, and they can be service. Now we could put our animals to work.
Emotional support animals, even
emotional support animals for kittens. That's what we for cats. That's what we talked about as well. And those wellness centers were also one of the biggest things in the police department, is we want to make sure that they have mental health screenings every year, right? And that will go along with our insurance idea, and making police officers carry insurance. You know, that's one of my big ideas, but I don't know if we got there yet. But
I mean, we can move on. Let's move on to that, because there's a lot of new ideas you have for the police reform. So I know you want to utilize technology too, to benefit the new system. So how would you do that?
So we are adopting this platform. It's called Excuse Me Officer. It's actually been implemented in some other areas. One of my friends is actually the head of it. And basically what it would do is, if you have an interaction with a police officer, you'll be able to pull up on your phone and get their badge number, put a comment on your interaction, or if you're getting arrested, you'll be able to press a button and it'll send out to your lawyer or your mom that you're about to be arrested. You'll also be able to record video and photos, and it'll upload straight to that platform. And the city will have that platform and have a team that monitors all those responses. So it's not a hard thing of, we got to go to the station and file a complaint and we don't think nothing going to happen. You can do it straight on your phone. And then that team will then say, all right, we have this bad response. You said this officer was just really mean to him. Let's bring that person in. Let's bring that officer in and say, what was really going on? We want to make this better, because we want you to understand where the police officer is feeling. We want you to understand where this resident was feeling, and try to bridge that gap, right?
With a third party, right?
With a third party. And then you have incentives for police officers who get the best responses. So police officers will want to go out and give the best customer service, because that should be a part of the police department. We should not have a police department that's oppressive, that every time you see them, they have an attitude, or they're saying, you know, what the heck are you got? You know, we need police officers who are kind. We're saying, how you doing? Hello. And when you have a lot of good responses for those police officers, we'll give them awards. So they'll basically go to people and say, hey, it was great talking to you. Go to the app and give me a response on my performance today.
Yeah, and so then they can feel that pride too when they're interacting with the community, and say, this is my rating.
This is my rating.
Protect you.
I'm here to protect you. Look, I got a 5-star rating on Excuse Me Officer from 10,000 people who think that I've done great. And so that will speak to their record as well. But most importantly, when you're talking about building the gap between community and police, that's one thing. And then we got to make sure we hold them accountable. So we want to have insurance on police officers. We believe that insurance companies should assess the liability on police and deem them too risky or uninsurable. And if they're dropped from their policies, then they'll be reassigned to desk duties. They won't be able to patrol the streets. We're spending $1.7 billion on police misconduct settlements in 10 to 20 years. Because what we're doing is even all the settlements we're paying now, we're not just paying them out with tax dollars. These are tax dollars, but we're taking out bonds to pay them. So we're paying interest on the money that, you know, if it costs $5 million, we're paying interest and end up paying $10 million over time. And so we got to stop that. Insurance will cover that. And then if it's an officer, they say, no, you're too risky. We can't, you're too much of a liability, or you fail your mental health screening. We can't insure you.
That's why all of these programs that you're suggesting work so well together.
Yes.
I'm a catastrophe analyst in the reinsurance industry, and they're always looking for new ways, alternative solutions to insure people, because that's their business. We want to expand, but we're not going to take the risk if you're telling me how much in liabilities they're causing, unless we have this mitigating program where you're saying, okay, we're going to make sure we're going to diminish the abuse and everything, and by using this app. Right.
And then it will be designed like this. You know, what you have is officers with good ratings and officers with good records, their premiums will be low, right? Yeah. So a report just came out that 30% of excessive force cases are by 130 officers, just 130 out of the 13,500 now we have. And so you don't have that many police officers that, will actually be committing a lot of excessive force cases. So you have more police officers that are doing well. Those police officers, they will have lower premiums. The other ones will have higher premiums and be at risk for being dropped. And once we drop those bad ones, then we have a lot of police officers who are just good.
It's about accountability and the fact that the taxpayers, your voters, don't want to be paying for this abuse and
$1
these
billion
litigation processes. Yeah.
What can we do with $1 billion?
Yeah.
You know, it only $10 million in Rahm's Riverwalk plan is going to be $10 million. I can take that $10 million and open up every single one of those mental health facilities for the next 3 to 4 years on operating costs. So what do you think we could do with $1 billion that we're spending on police misconduct? We already get them $4 million a day. Over a third of our budget goes to the police department. They already have an $8 million forfeiture fund where they take away cars, and they get that fund and they get to decide on what to do with the money. City council don't even have nothing to do with it. And we're also paying $1 billion in police misconduct, and now they're talking about building a $95 million police academy that's going to end up being $195 million. Yet they're only solving 15% of murders in the city of Chicago. Right. We're pouring all of our money into the police department, but we're not getting the results that we need, because they shouldn't be the ones out trying to solve crime. We got to attack the root problems. They should be there to support us, and they should be there to capture criminals if they are criminals in the community.
Right. We need to have results-focused systems, and we need to put public health and safety and education above, catering to the police. Yeah. I know. So glad to hear that.
Yes.
I will also want to hear about your kind of like corruption task force idea. Yeah. Because I know if I was running, that would be the first thing I would invest in.
You'd invest in a corruption task force. Well, you know what? The biggest thing is we've had so much corruption in the city and in the state over the years. We got to make sure, number one, it's not even just about the task force. It's about having a mayor who appoints people who really cares about city residents, right? Who really is not there to benefit off of themselves, but to understand the vision and understand the priorities, and to fulfill those, to make sure we meet in the best interest of all city residents. I think that's the most important part, because if you have a mayor who's establishment, who's known for being a part of the establishment, 9 times out of 10, they're going to appoint people who have been a part of the establishment and help their rich cronies who have helped them being put in office. So they'll get the contracts, they'll get the development, they'll be able to develop a Marriott or develop whatever they want to develop. Our administration is going to appoint the right people. We're going to have a fair system when it comes to contracts, and we're going to have a team that makes sure that we are that really, and then, which is why I want to move a lot of things to the people's hands, like an elected school board, right? Because we have the school board who has been mismanaging funds. who has let the sexual abuse scandals, go right up under the table, and now it's really been a cover up. We've had so many things that the school board hasn't been able to do, which is why it needs to be elected. So we need to move power to the people's hands, some power to the people's hands, and make sure people are really caring about all city residents that are experts in their fields. That's how we're going to tail out, get rid of corruption in this city.
So if, like in the Laquan McDonald's case, you definitely would let the city know that you are not going to be a part of any sort of cover up and whatever.
Of course not.
Right.
I help uncover the cover up.
Yes.
No, I of course wouldn't be a part of any cover ups. I think that we need to look at all those systems and try to change them the best to make sure that people really understand. One of the biggest things that I just now started talking about is a policy that I'm going to be releasing, that the police department is going to have a marketing department. All right, it's going to have a marketing and crisis department because it is important, as well as my administration. So it'll be, I believe that we need a marketing crisis department really to deal with even CPS, even with CPD, as well as the mayor's office. You need people who really understand. So I own a marketing consulting firm. So I'm something like a marketing expert, if you want to call me. Mm-hmm. And you need people who understand when issues like a Laquan McDonald, come to the table, or officer shoots somebody 16 times, that crisis team needs to be on it, on making sure they do the right messaging, making sure the mayor and superintendent are saying the right things, yes, making sure that we're putting out videos in the right amount of time. All of these things need to happen so that we can keep the trust with the community. And the only way you can do that is having people who are experts in marketing, in crisis, yes, to know, hell, no, superintendent, you cannot get up there and say that. We need to look at your statement, because we had a situation where women were found, they were missing and they were found dead, right? And the superintendent came on this podium and said, well, we found out that these women were engaged in prostitution and in drugs and things of that sort. All right. Now, the communities do not care about that. Communities care about the fact that they were just found dead and you don't have a suspect in custody. What happened to them? And so that just moved the trust from the police department and the community. Now, if you had somebody that was in crisis to say, no, you cannot say these things. Right. You cannot. No, you need to assure the people that you are on this, assure the people that the detective division are looking and try to get the community involved to help you. That is what you should be doing right after we just found these girls in an alley, in this condition. Right. And that's why it's also great to have an independent media to work with, right? Right. Exactly. So I want to move on to your plan about the lead in the water, because, we've gotten the announcement from Rahm Emmanuel that it's okay. Who is that? Yeah, who? I don't know. I think we're going to forget about him after next year. Yes. So what we have is we've had, and this is what Rahm does, is he keeps kicking the can, and then we'll deal with this problem 20 years from now, and we'll be in a Flint situation. Yeah. But, Rahm will be way on gone somewhere doing another job. This lead in the water issue is important. All right, we're changing the main lines and not changing the service lines, which actually irritates the service lines and makes the lead problem worse in the homes. So what Rahm said is, if you want to change your service lines, go ahead and do it. $10,000 to $20,000 a home. Okay. And now, most of us are renting. Exactly. So you got 400,000 homes that are affected in the city of Chicago. How many people are going to say, I'm going to prioritize changing my service line and pay the $10,000 to $20,000? A lot of people don't have it. All right. And so now they have little kids who are drinking from the tap, drinking that water, and you won't even know the effects that lead can have. Especially on young children, because when they get older, it can lead to heart failure, kidney failure, all these different things that they wouldn't even know that it came from drinking even all the lead in the water. Aggression, mental issues. Who's going to know that when they get older that it came from drinking all this lead from a young kid? Mm-hmm. So we got to attack this problem. So we released a plan on how to deal with it over the next 20 years. We will prohibit service lines in the city of Chicago, meaning when we go out and change the main lines, we are going to change those service lines. Then we're going to have a lead be gone assistance fund for those who are low income, and we're going to have shared responsibility and pay up to 60% of the cost for those service lines, as well as we're going to have a shared responsibility with even those who want to contract with us who do have that money. But if they want to contract with the city and we do it, then we will still take shared responsibility. You will not pay the whole cost of paying a service line, and any of your portion can be assessed over your taxes over a long period of time. You won't even be able to see the difference. So we're going to take from the ticket revenue, we're going to take from the tip funds, and we're going to have and we're going to work with other organizations to make sure that we have the money and resources to do it, as well as everybody with that test for lead at a certain amount that has a lead service line that need to be replaced. We're going to make sure that we supply filters to all those homes immediately once we prohibit those service lines, to make sure that they're filtering out that lead until we're able to get to them.
Okay. Yeah, so those would have to be pretty advanced, and I know that Rahm pretty much said it's on you to get those, and it's I haven't even looked into it, but
you gotta look at what Madison is doing. Yeah.
So when you say with the new developments, do you mean kind of like inside of a community benefits agreement, there would be something that says we're gonna help? No,
that's something that is something the city is gonna do. We're gonna pass an ordinance.
Okay.
That says we're gonna pass an ordinance to the city of Chicago. Prohibits lead service lines, right? Okay. So that means that, when you're going out there and you change those main service lines, those main lines, you got to change those service lines. We're going to change them regardless of what anybody thinks. Yeah. Meaning that it is going to be paid for by the city, as well as you will have a portion. And that portion can be assessed over a long period of time. And you won't be able to notice, it on your tax bill. And I'm going to lower taxes anyway, so you're really going to be able to.
Okay, awesome. Yes, that's what we like to hear. Yeah. So speaking of that, just the cost on the residents of Chicago. Yeah. We've seen these red light tickets, parking tickets that have honestly put some people into jail because they haven't been able to pay them. So what's your views on that?
That whole system is going to change. All right. I am not a fan of red light cameras. Honestly, they would all come down.
In the city, it's so hard. I just want to say, I think I have gotten some recently because it's just in Chicago, it's already so hard to drive that you maybe have to take a right turn on red and work around some people. So how can you tell if
it shouldn't be a case where every city resident in the city of Chicago has tickets? Yeah, that makes no sense. Right, something is rigged here. Yeah, that you can go to the natural resident in the city of Chicago that drives. Everybody has a ticket. Yeah, all right. That system is going to change. We're going to change the boot system. And, that whole Rahm changed it to this whole 2-ticket thing, and he's booting and garnishing, and these law firm companies are making money off of us. No, that whole system is going to change. You're going to get rid of red light cameras, as well as, especially because you look at where they place the red light cameras. I can go into the whole racial thing, but where they place those cameras, and they're taking a lot of money from people who already don't have it. Right. All right. So I am not for that. I would change the boot system as well.
Awesome.
And I'm not a fan of the boot system.
So, okay, awesome. So we're just about out of time here, but please let everyone know where they can reach you or volunteer.
If you want to see more of our platform, you can go to greenforchicago.com. That's green as the color, FOR, Chicago.com. Or you can, search my name on Google or any other website, any other social media sites, and look at what we're talking about. J. Mall Green.
Awesome. So I'm really happy to have you. I think
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I think you're a great inspiration for children everywhere. And just to see what they can aspire to be. Yes. It's great. All right. So thank you. And this report from Heartlands Media. Do what you can to make the world a better place. Thank you.
You're watching Heartlands Media.